So, hello, my name is Joshua, and this is Kaleidoscope, an educational podcast hosted by me and my friends Edmond and Cynthia. Our podcast is sort of a one-stop shop for everything career-related with the help of industry insiders. We present you with a broad spectrum of professions with as many perspectives through personal testimonies as the colors of a kaleidoscope. And today we have Csilla Dali, our first business owner on the podcast. We're very excited to have you, Csilla. Welcome.
Thank you, and wow, you can say my name. Most people do not know how to pronounce it.
Funnily enough, I stalked your LinkedIn a little bit beforehand, and I saw the pronunciation thing there, so I got the insider info.
You played it a couple times as well.
And that's exactly the reason why I'm not hosting today, because I just really wanted to play on that, that they don't know how to say it correctly. So
Csilla, yes. So Csilla, I don't know, you said you've watched the first 2 episodes, so you know the 10 questions. We're just going to run these through you quickly just to get sort of a feel for who you are, and they're fun questions that can be answered super lightheartedly, and then we'll get to it. So first question, beach or sightseeing?
Sightseeing.
Okay. Books or movies?
Ooh. Movies right now.
Okay. Favorite ice cream flavor?
Toasted coconut.
That's an interesting one. I've never heard of that one.
Love it. Every time I travel, I'm trying to find it.
Okay. Favorite country to visit?
Ooh. Japan. I haven't quite visited yet, but I would love to visit Japan.
I think Japan is. I lived in Japan as a kid, and I'm sure it's changed a lot more since then. But yeah, I think it's one of those countries where it's just different. It's completely different to anything that we're used to, or anything that we know.
Wow. I look forward to seeing it.
Yeah. Favorite song?
that's a hard one.
Gosh, yeah, I haven't thought about that ever. Oddly, Whiskey in the Jar pops into my mind.
Whiskey in the Jar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, an old one, but it always puts me in a good mood.
Whiskey in the who's Whiskey in the Jar?
Metallica's version.
I've the chorus comes to my head. It's.
Do you want to sing it to us, Josh?
Absolutely not. Nice try.
That's another episode of the podcast, or maybe another episode of another podcast.
Karaoke with Csilla, yeah.
Oh no, you don't want.
6th question: stranded on an island, what are 3 things you take?
Oof, a friend.
Good answer.
Matches.
Okay.
And a knife.
Okay.
Nice. All right. Practical and social.
There we go.
Not the husband with the 2 kids though.
Yeah.
Right. I could have said that too.
If you could eat one food for the rest of your life, or what would you eat?
One food. I love seafood, so it's not necessarily one thing, but one category. Does that work?
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it sushi that you like, or is it?
I love sushi too. Crab cakes, shrimp, whatever. I eat everything.
Okay. Favorite movie?
Favorite movie? Wow. All right, you got me on the spot with that one. I cannot think of a favorite movie, but I can tell you one that I recently enjoyed.
Yeah.
Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso. That's a
show. It's a series of
the American guy that comes over to the UK, huh?
Yeah.
My parents have just watched that. I think it's quite good from what I hear.
Yeah, especially the first season. Loved it.
Okay. Book you think everyone should read?
All right. Well, I've been reading more industry professional books than fiction, but let's see. The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, I've read that. Yeah.
I love
Have you both
that.
read it?
Yeah.
You read it?
Yeah.
Have you read it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you?
No. I need to read it apparently.
Disowned. We're gonna have to do this a 2-person podcast.
The Alchemist. Okay. 3 people you would like to have dinner with. Alive or dead?
Okay. Amelia Earhart.
Okay.
Salvador Dali.
Oh, that's a cool one.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And let's see. One of my ancestors, like a great grandma, for example.
That's a very interesting one.
Yeah, I like
It
that.
I like that one. Yeah.
It is. So if we can ask, sorry, just because of
No.
the ancestor thing, Csilla, where are you from? Just for the audience that doesn't know.
Yeah, so I was born in Romania, Transylvania, but I live just outside of Chicago right now in the
Okay.
States.
So I think that makes it even more interesting, which is why I brought it up,
Yeah.
the ancestor thing.
And I think that's a nice way to sort of lead into the podcast and the conversation. And again, I know I said it before, but we're very, very grateful to have you here. And first business owner. I think there's a lot of brain to pick here. So
For sure.
yeah, let's get right into it. I think maybe if you want to just run us through a bit of your background, you know, where you were born, and then sort of how you got to as a timeline, how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, so as I just said, I was born in Transylvania in Romania, and while I was going to college there, I was pursuing a career in geography and English, pretty much for my love of English. It was just an odd pairing that they were offering, so it was a double specialization. And then a few years into it, I did a summer work and travel program in the States. And while I was here, I sort of decided that I would like to continue my studies in the States. So I enrolled in college in North Carolina. And while I was doing college there, I was also working as a waitress in a restaurant. And I just happened to meet the North American sales rep of Lufthansa Airlines. And back then I was fluent in about 4 different languages. And the way that we were talking about it, she was she finished a college in Miami in somewhere that I was sort of interested in. I wanted to pursue languages and translations and things like that. But she kind of came up with the idea that I should join a travel agency, and she happened to know one that was looking for someone, and me speaking so many languages, they thought I would be, you know, like a good fit for it. So packed up my stuff, moved to Atlanta, joined the travel agency there, stayed there for a couple of months actually, training, and they had me join their Miami office. And that's how pretty much my career in the travel industry started. And a few years after that, I decided to move to Chicago and opened a branch office for the same company here in Chicago. But then when all the economic downturn started happening in the States and businesses were closing and things were changing, I decided to take a huge risk and open my own company since everything else was closing. And that's how Global Voyages sort of started. And a couple of years into it, I also purchased another travel agency called Sebok Travel. It was a Hungarian local travel agency with about a 60-year history here in Chicago. So different times, different clientele, pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I merged them all together at that point, and now it's been about 12 years, I would say, yeah. 12 years of doing this.
That's amazing. So, question, if I may, Josh.
Of course.
So you said that you had Sebok, which was focused on Hungary and Romania, and then you had Global Voyages, which was focused on what market at that point, and how did you merge them?
Sebok was actually focused more on Hungarians from the United States traveling back to Hungary. So not necessarily tourism that was shifting people or having visitors go to Hungary. Global Voyages, the point when I left the other agency, I pretty much had a good market share in the Romanian, Hungarian, Russian, Polish, more ethnic markets. So they sort of followed me. So it started kind of like that. Again, local ethnicities going back, visiting their own countries and doing that. But I sort of had a niche in Europe and specifically Eastern Europe. So more and more I was growing it to send clients from the United States to visit these countries. I worked with different churches, different schools. We were doing group trips like this, and something that started as an air-only agency at the time. Back when I started, sites like Expedia or any of these mega search engines weren't that popular, so everything was still done manually through travel agencies. So it was a good start to do that. And then I just didn't find that much passion in simply, booking airfares. So I wanted to develop it more, and I went more into leisure travel. And my personal focus was always customized vacation packages, mainly to Europe, Southeast Asia, and some beach destinations, and Central America. And then as the company grew, I added a couple of new agents and independent contractors, each of them with their own specialties and with their own expertise and interests. So we sort of now built it out to be a full service travel agency where if anybody's traveling, you can get someone that has probably been to the destination, or if they haven't been, they have worked years and years mainly on that destination to make sure that our clients' trips can be unique and personalized, and that's what it is, certainly.
Do you think that inability to travel as a youngster sort of fueled your passion for wanting to see more parts of the world and sort of going into that?
Absolutely. And don't get me wrong, I did not think that, the inability to travel is not necessarily an inability to travel in my mind, because we were traveling the country every weekend. Even if that meant, packing up a tent and going an hour from where we live, that was a trip for us, an adventure, and we have done that my entire childhood, and I loved it. So that sense of adventure sort of grew from, in me since childhood. And yes, that definitely fueled my curiosity, and the fact that, we couldn't go to all these places, that helped. And I just remember when I was graduating high school, I think one of my godparents got me a book, and it was a book of national parks of the United States. But it was this gorgeous, big, full of pictures with sites that I could not even imagine going there. So when I saw that, I was like, no, I gotta get there, I gotta see it, I gotta take my picture, and that stayed with me. And really, when I came to the States, I had no aspiration or intention of even joining this industry, because here in the States I was studying, international relations, and I kind of couldn't really decide what I like and what I don't like. But then business interested me a little bit, marketing interested me a little bit. I didn't feel that I would necessarily be great at that. I always felt that I needed to do something with languages or this type of things. And then just because, I don't know, I feel like it was destiny to meet. I still remember her name. She was Ingrid Hill, and she pretty much changed my life. So thank you, Lufthansa.
Would you? So I feel like that's an appropriate time to ask the question. Maybe I know the answer. Was that the decisive moment in your career, in your current career, that sort of meeting Ingrid and?
Yes, I felt like it was. Yeah. I definitely felt like it was, and she put me on this path. At that point, I wasn't thinking of ever opening an agency of my own. I felt lucky enough to be able to join someone else's company and fall into this industry and experience it all. But with time, things change, aspirations change, opportunities came up, and
I think it's just already in this very short amount of time, we can see that you have this mentality of just the sense of adventure, but also the mentality of just putting yourself out there, right? So if there's one thing that I've gotten from this very short amount of interaction is fearlessness. And I think that is such an important thing, because of one of the things you talked about, you didn't necessarily know what you wanted to do in college. And as you know, that this podcast is for students out there that are in the same shoes that you were in at that point. So what would you say, how much would you say that you have to, to people out there, do they have to stress about not knowing exactly where they're going in life?
No. In fact, thinking back on it all, I kind of think that it's almost too much pressure to have to choose a certain path or specialization or college degree or something like that and decide, where that will lead you. Here in the States, things in college are a little bit different than how they were back home, and there's a lot more general topic subjects and other things that you could pick up that have nothing to do with your specialty, which sort of help you, guide you, and you could even switch majors if you're not interested in one, just make up credits here and there, whatever. Like at home, it wasn't like that. You like if you started on a path, if you gave up on that, you had to start from scratch again, all over again. But I feel, and I hope that things have changed there and here and everywhere a little bit to allow this freedom where I feel that a lot of industries right now are so intertwined. So it doesn't really matter that you're specializing in, I don't know, literature. You can still be something that has to do with business, because a lot of businesses, need content writers, journalists, God knows what. So any skill that you pick up pretty much in college, I feel like you could use, as long as you have that an entrepreneurial or free spirit where you can adapt towards things that will better your life. Or you can have a degree that makes you a lot of money and be miserable at it, and is it worth it then? Yeah. So I feel like everybody should just pursue their passion, even though you might not know what that is at that point. It just, time has a way of working things out for you down the line, and you might have to go through different jobs and different fields of study and things like that until you find yourself and you find your calling. But I'm sure that that's coming, and I don't feel like anybody.
That's very meaningful.
I mean, you touched on the entrepreneurial spirit there, and I think everybody has a little bit of entrepreneur in them, but some very few people really sort of harness it and sort of capitalize on it. Would you say that you always had this entrepreneurial spirit, or do you think you sort of fell into it more and then went with it?
Funny you should ask. Apparently, when I was little, I was charging my neighbors to take care of my sister. Because my sister was 6 years younger than I was, and my parents were like, if you want to go somewhere, you want to do something, then here, you have to take her, and then you can both go. And well, she was just so cute and nice and lovely, and everybody would come up at me saying, oh, this. So I was like, do you want to take care of them? I'll charge you. You can do that instead of me paying for it. And one other thing that I remember, again, growing up, it was always my sister and my two cousins, and I was the oldest one. And the second youngest to me was my 3-year younger cousin. So, and then my sister and my other cousin, they were 5 and 6 years younger. So all I wanted to do is play teacher or something like that, and I would write screenplays, and I like short screenplays, and I would teach them. So we would always have an act of like 20-30 minutes, and for our parents or neighbors to watch it, they had to pay an entrance fee, and this is what I did every weekend. That's with brilliant. Them. So the kids hated me for it, and the adults enjoyed it, and I was just feeling like, well, this is how we make money.
Yeah, I think you had your first experience with outsourcing the care of your little sister.
Yeah,
I did that. Yeah.
Maybe for those people, or those people that are not that sure, about this entrepreneurial spirit in them. What would you say that? How do you know that your calling is not to be a worker or an employee somewhere, but to start your own thing, like you did?
Well, I would say, don't let your fears ground you, is what I would say. You have no idea of where things can lead, but if you're too afraid to take that jump and let it just happen, you will never know. So I feel like that's a common characteristic that anybody that's going to pursue entrepreneurship has. They try thinking positively. They're open to any opportunities that show up, and they focus on positive results that may come out of it, instead of always being afraid because of the bad things that could happen, or things couldn't work out, or things like that. There's no such thing in my mind as things not working out. Even things that don't work out provide some kind of a lesson so that you don't repeat mistakes in the future, or helps you make better decisions. So everything, like you have to just let yourself go and take that step. Not everybody is great at being a self-employed entrepreneur, and that's I don't think, like, that's just one side of entrepreneurship. You could still be an employee of someone within your own and create your own business out of that. So it's not, being self-employed is hard, because you will never have, at least in the beginning, you don't have a fixed income, so you have no idea whether you can make ends meet by the end of the month. When you're younger, it's not such a big deal, because you only have to worry about yourself. But as you get older and you have a family, or you start having kids, that you can feel that pressure. So my advice would be to start young. Do all of this, experiment with everything you can before you get to the point where you settle down and pile on worries that have to do with more lives other than yourselves. I thinking back in a lot of things that I have done, and thinking that now I have kids, I may not take the same risks either, because I keep thinking, well, is this gonna work? If this is not gonna work out, or if this is gonna work out, how it's gonna affect them? But I try to stay positive and just move on.
You mentioned earlier that the company that you first worked for, the first travel agency, was closing because of the economy in the US, and that's when you decided to open your own. How?
That company was not closing.
Oh, sorry, not closing, but they were you mentioned closing branches?
A lot of travel agencies were closing and downsizing.
Yeah, downsizing.
Yes,
yeah, sorry,
absolutely.
Sorry.
This particular one did not close. Yeah. I just decided to leave.
Yeah, but so seeing the state of travel agencies, what made you think that it was a good idea? And obviously it was, because it worked out, but what made you think that it was going to work out, seeing everything around you? And you mentioned not having fear, but how were you not afraid of seeing the environment around you? I don't know if that makes sense.
I don't think I put that much thought into it. I just made up my mind and took the jump. I didn't know if it's going to work out or if it's not going to work out, but truth is, look at, from a perspective of travel agencies, look at where we are right now. Like, a lot of people are ignorantly asking, if you ask me, well, travel agents still exist, what's the point of having a travel agency when you can do everything by yourself online? And we keep proving over and over and over again that there's a need for it, there's a purpose for us, and there's a job that we can do better than the internet can and will be able to at any point. The human connection is not something to take for granted. Like, everything is online, everything is just so mechanical. At this point, I feel like if you're gonna take something as important as your hard-earned money to take a well-deserved vacation, you want to make sure that that goes to the right type of vacation and it's booked the right way and it's managed the right way. So I just kept this thought in my head. I didn't know if it's gonna work out or not, but I felt that I don't have much to lose, because the industry was as it was, and I felt like I have no guarantee, even if I stay, that this particular company is gonna make it. And what better time to start than to start at a difficult time and build it up from there.
That's beautiful. I forgot my question. Someone else got I had a good one as well.
It happens to the best of us. Do you think you sort of possessed a unique selling proposition in terms of opening your own business, or was it more just I have nothing to lose and let me just sort of go with the flow and then I'll sort my way out there? Or were you confident in your ability to have something different to offer here?
No, not in having something different to offer. It was more about the relationships that I've already formed with my clients. Okay. and that closeness that they felt towards me and that trust that we built with each other. And I felt that if I continue doing my job the same way, I keep attracting more and more clients, and they will feel the same and they will trust me with their vacation plans and anything that I need, and they will refer me. And for years and years and years from the beginning, I built my entire business on word of mouth advertising. I never had online ads or newspaper ads or anything that was working back in those times. It just, they organically came, and those are the best relationships, to be honest, because that's just one person saying this is the person that you need to contact for all your travel needs, and they will make sure to take good care of you. And advertising like that you cannot buy.
Yeah.
So all I was thinking of is to do my job as professional as I can, to have as much knowledge as someone can possibly have in my field of expertise, and the rest will come. And that was kind of the mindset that I went with, and I felt like I kept throughout the years.
How do you think, how different it is for you today, the advertising aspect, as you said that so many people think that they can do all these things on their own?
Well, I think there's a market for everyone. You just have to find it. Okay. Yes, it is challenging sometimes to project value, especially in people who have their, mindset that, what do I need them for? I've done my job always, and I mean, I booked my trips every time, and that's that. But something happens at one point or another in their lives when they want, something more like a special occasion trip or something that they feel maybe it's worth trying to book through a travel professional, and let's see the difference. And once they find me like that, or I find them like that, it changes their view of how it feels working with an actual person and an actual agency and small business versus, giving my business to an online corporation or something faceless. Yeah. And the client retention rate that we have at the company is pretty big, and that's pretty much part of our success, and we're so grateful that we have the reputation that we have, and we have the support of the clients that we have.
And I think we're in a unique position here today because you are obviously a business owner, two business owners. So you concern yourself with the operational, the financial, the marketing, all of that. You concern yourself with all of those aspects of the business. My question is, do you think you were always good at those sort of things, or do you think you had to learn it, or?
Not at all. Yeah, I had to learn it, and quite frankly, now opening another business, again, in the travel industry, I'm doing things exactly from a different perspective, and everything that I didn't know back then, even now that I know, I'm trying to build it differently, because even if I would be good at several of those things, there's only a certain amount of time, hours in a day, and focusing my attention on so many different things, something's gotta give, like something is gonna get neglected, so I didn't know this. I was so afraid in the beginning, I felt like I had to take every client that came my way, and I had to do everything myself because I could not afford hiring someone for that. But looking back and doing it all over again, one of the changes that I'm making is that I am taking myself out of the tasks that I am not very good at. And even though I think that I cannot afford hiring someone for that, I will make that happen somehow. And I will have a person, especially when it comes to the financial part of running the business and things like that, or the marketing side of it, or something like that. I want to have a person from as early as possible. I don't want to wait years and years being my own everything, wearing 1,000 different hats. I felt that ultimately that slowed down the growth of my company. And then when we had our best year, I think it was probably 2019. It was amazing. Our number, we were winning sales awards and making huge bookings and things like that, but I had no personal life. Like, I barely saw my kids, I barely saw my husband. I felt like I was stuck to my computer, and my success was also dragging me down emotionally, because I felt that in order to achieve those levels of sales or those numbers of booking, I have to give up on everything else. So then I'm at that point working, living to work, not working to live. So I don't want to do that way anymore. Now that we went through a pandemic and business slowed down so much, I am absolutely making decisions as to not go back to that point ever again. And yeah, any entrepreneur that's going to start their business, like the first thing that they have to figure out after things are in order is who can they afford to slowly give responsibilities away and focus on everything else. It's going to help the growth of the company for sure.
And I think go ahead.
Sorry.
Please.
Thank you. I think there's another aspect to hiring somebody that always comes to your mind, because I am a control freak when it comes to my tasks. So I can only imagine when you're putting, your money, your reputation, your dreams and everything on the line, it is your baby. So how do you deal with giving a task away to somebody that that is probably not going to do it with the same passion as you're doing it?
That's exactly the question that I wanted to ask you. It's a great question. It's a great question.
Yeah. It's hard. And absolutely, I think any business owner is a control freak, and everybody thinks that, nobody can do the job the way that they can. And in a lot of ways, nobody will do the job with as much passion and dedication as you will, because you're building this. I feel that, choosing the right person is key, and it's just so hard to find them, though they are out there. I thought that I would be a very meticulous micromanager, and I find myself not to be one. And that helps me and it helps them, because the moment that I micromanage that much, they get that in their head. It's almost as if they feel that they're doing something wrong, that I feel the need to constantly check them and double check them. And I don't want them working with that much pressure and stress under me. And then what I try to do is I try to offer them the training that they need to be able to do the job to my expectations. There's plenty of training options, whether I'm doing it in-house or outsourcing it, that they can do. And at some point or the other, you're going to run into the issue that no matter how much training you do, some people were just not going to cut it. And if that is the case, you just have to move on, then find another one and move on, which is again hard because you're starting over with somebody else. But you gotta find the person that fits your personality, fits your business's goals and directions, and is a free thinker, someone who can work without being supervised all the time. And at some point you just have to sit down and think of your business as a company that you're growing and not as your personal hobby. Because if it's your personal hobby, then yes, be micromanaging, be controlling, and be all of that. But if it's a business you're building, how many businesses do you know who just have one employee? The whole aspect of a business is to build it out, to offer employment to others, to do good with your products, to do all of that. And that you cannot do alone. And as long as you accept that, and you open yourself up to, trial and error, and sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't, you just take the step. Again, it's a fear thing. Even control is a fear thing. So you have to work through your own fears in order to achieve that.
How would you describe a day in your life as an owner of a company?
If you had asked me 2 years ago, it would have been
That's
completely different.
Can we have both then,
Today.
maybe? Can you give us 2 years ago and now, so we can understand the difference?
2 years ago, pretty much my life was, the moment I woke up, sorted my kids out with breakfast and everything, I would sit down and my entire day would be spent in front of the computer, because our phones would not stop ringing. So I did a lot of the travel agent job instead of the travel agency owner job. A few years back, I did hire someone to take over the bookkeeping and taxes and everything like that. So all the financial stuff that I didn't like, I got rid of, and I hired someone for that, and she has been amazing and saved my sanity and probably my business doing more ways than one. So I'm very grateful for that, and that stress being off of my shoulder really allowed me to do other things. Having a team under me also meant, managing them, taking care of their issues, all of that, doing trainings. The funny thing is that all the agents that work under me, none of them are local, and even the local ones are about an hour away from me. So even though we are one company, everyone lives very far, like in different states and spread out throughout the United States. So keeping the team spirit going and doing all of that sometimes is a challenge, and especially doing that online, and this one even before virtual things became so popular now. But even before that, that was something that concerned me a lot. I just didn't want them feeling left out, alone, unappreciated. I wanted them to feel like we are a team, even though we're not physically in the same location. So those little things were part of my days or weeks. And now what I'm trying to do, I took a couple of interesting webinars and courses during the pandemic, and one of the ones that stuck with me was productivity and time management. And one of the advices that I got from there is to kind of divide my day based on where I feel that I'm the most productive on, and schedule things that I want to do at certain times of the day based on that. So now if I wake up early and my kids are still asleep, I am doing the work that I pretty much hate doing because early in the morning I'm really productive. By the time the kids wake up, I can be done with that, and then I can move into doing the things that I actually enjoy. I've also changed how I'm taking client calls, or how I'm scheduling reservations, or how I'm scheduling client consultations, so that my goal is to try to carve out specific time during the day for those phone calls, so that when I'm working on actually building the vacations and dreams of my clients, I'm uninterrupted, because the more I can focus on that, the better things I can come up with. I'm still growing into this right now because I do have 2 kids, and one of them is only a year old, so I can schedule my day as well as I can I want, but a lot of times things don't work out the same way. But I do find myself that I can accomplish more and I can focus more by following this productivity and time management steps that I learned in some of these webinars.
Yeah.
So
this is a little bit of a different question that just came to mind when you were talking about adapting to you can have all these plans, but with a 1-year-old child things happen. Do you think you've learned anything sort of about your business after becoming a mother?
Should I even say that? You know what I think I learned? I learned to be a little bit more sensitive, because my kids, and just kids in general, need a certain way of speaking to themselves and a certain way of acknowledging their feelings and their struggles and making them feel heard. And I was always so direct. Like I don't think I had this sensibility towards people, because again, from Romania, like, you don't have the smiling attitude, or you didn't have back then the smiling attitude and everybody being in a good mood, and people were just direct. They were, you asked a question, they answered honestly. It's not like, yeah, everything's good, everything is cheeky, whatever, how are you? So that did not exist. And I found myself as a business owner that some of my employees and some of my agents and some of my partners actually may not have understood this. So they felt it as almost like being rude, or I always had the reputation, oh, Csilla says it how it is, oh, watch out, or things like that. But after having kids and after, managing them this way, I realized that, I can manage my business and my team a similar way, where I can still be direct and upfront, but maybe soft, with a softer version of it. And I'm hoping it works better. I think it works better.
Yeah. That's sorry, it was just quite a random question that came to mind. I thought, but I think there's huge value in that answer as well. Even in the groups that I work in at school, you notice people respond differently to different styles of communication. I think part of being successful as a group is adapting.
And see, this is one of the things that I did like 2 years ago. Every time I hired someone, I had them fill out kind of like a profile of themselves. And one of the questions was, how do you like to take feedback? Or when you feel like you need more motivation, or if you're feeling like you're letting yourself down. And I noticed that what do you respond well to? Do you need like soft words? Do you need what kind of encouragement works better on you? And I kept that, and every time when I'm tracking what they do, or I'm just doing a sales report, or looking at their progress or anything like that, I always go back to this sheet of paper and sort of approach them based on the preferences that they put there, and that seems to be working. And I want to be mindful, of their personalities and of their wants and needs, and that's how I'm trying to approach them.
Yeah, and I think for me personally, going into the job industry sooner or later, I think that would be something that I value a lot as well. If I can see that my boss or my boss is taking into account how I like to be spoken to, I think that will sort of change how much or how passionate I am about, or how much I want to see the business do well. So I think it's
a business thrives if their employees feel empowered, respected, and valued. And I keep saying, a lot of my agents are independent contractors, so they're their own business owners as well, so to speak, but attached to my company. So my goal is, for their businesses to grow, because that's how my business grows. And as long as they feel that and they feel my support in doing that, I feel like we are both winning in this situation.
Sorry, they just cut up for a second. So I do feel like I have a question about that. The first thing that came to my mind, if I had to fill that questionnaire out today, would I really, truly, reasonably know, or dare to put there, how I want to be spoken to?
Good question. Well, it's for me, or for a company of my size, it's not like a set in stone thing. If something doesn't work, I would hope that you as an employee would feel that it's an open door policy, and we can amend that, or we can discuss that, and we can both make changes in order to accommodate you. And how you feel today might not be how you feel in 2 years from now. So you will also learn my style, and you will also see the difference from one approach to the other. So maybe you like to be spoken to softly, but maybe when it comes to me, you react better if I'm a little bit tougher on you at times. So again, I feel like there's always almost like a wall when you're thinking of an employee-boss relationship. But again, maybe it's the nature of my business, and maybe it's the nature of the type of employees that I have, being independent contractors. But I do prefer them looking at me as a team leader rather than, as an agency owner / whatever I go, whatever I say goes. Because I do feel that there should be some kind of, not necessarily hierarchy, but like a leading position in it all. But I don't want to feel, I don't want them to feel that I'm above them or anything like that, because really their business is my business. So our goals align, and we are a team, and that is what I try to project in everything that we do.
You mentioned a couple times the differences between the US and Romania, where you grew up. How was that transition exactly, moving from Romania, as I understand at that time wasn't the most open country in the world, to the US, which is definitely more open-minded? How was that transition for you?
So, back when I moved to Romania, I was pretty open as well. Okay. But I romanticized probably the idea of the United States a lot. And when I moved here, it was a bit of a culture shock. Good thing is I'm pretty easily adaptable to any situations, I felt like. So that for me, I felt like it helped a lot. But it definitely is not, money grows in the trees, land of the free, do whatever you want, and you make it. It's not like that. It's hard work, it's dedication. Some values are different. A lot of, even the approach towards anything in life is different here. Where, in Romania, let's just talk about work and jobs, right? That's what we're here. In Romania, everybody feels like they they work to live, whereas here in the United States, a lot of times you're thinking, gosh, I live to work or what? So work and a job and success in business is different here, I feel like. And when I came originally, even relationships with people, like it was a pleasant surprise to see people so open and welcoming and smiling. I wasn't necessarily used to it, so that's why I'm saying I had to change a lot in this regard too, because in a business aspect I was labeled unapproachable a lot of times, and in the industry that I work in, for example, I had this romantic vision of it being an industry, full of young people and full of adventure and full of this, but here in the United States, the travel agency side of the business is predominantly dominated by ages 60 and up. So when I started in this business, I was a very oddball out. And some of the first conferences I went to, the response was, whose granddaughter are you? So it was like almost insulting, and then my own attitude and my own way of being and labeled a bit unapproachable. Like small talk is one thing that I to the day don't feel like I'm good at, and networking here is all about small talk. Like ask me about business and I can talk to you for hours, but ask me about anything else, I'm just awkward in social circumstances like that here in the States. So yeah, it was interesting.
If you had to attribute your success to one thing, what would it be?
I would say just my desire to build something and not give up if I face challenges. I think that.
In hindsight, in the many years that you've done this, and of course many yet to come, is there a favorite memory that you have from your job?
Many. I mean, because of the nature of my job, I've been so fortunate in going to so many amazing places in the world and having so many different experiences and meeting so many different people. So that's definitely a highlight of my job. As far as from the business side of it, winning some of the sales awards and team awards when our team was bigger and intact before the pandemic started, it filled me with pride and happiness, not just for myself but also for my agents, because they really mean a lot to my business. And not just that they mean a lot to my business, they make my business, but the fact that I am also working as a travel agent, not just a business owner, I relate to them on that level as well. So I know what it takes for us to get those sales, to earn those things, to build everything based on that. And I feel that even though sometimes I want to give up on this side of it, because I feel like at this point there's more value in me just working the business side rather than the actual travel agent side. I feel that if I let it go, maybe I will lose this closeness and this connection with the agents that I'm working with, because then they might not feel that I understand what they're.
Yeah. So then I think you touched on it a bit there in terms of where the future. Where do you see yourself in the future?
Yeah. Do you still see yourself as a business owner as well? Because you talked about stability with children and family. Where do you see?
Yes, absolutely. I cannot see myself as anything else, but I love the thrill of it. Like even the part of not knowing whether you're gonna make it or not, it just fuels me. I absolutely love it, and my head is always filled with ideas of what to do, how to change, what to change. I often don't get to execute those ideas, unfortunately, but I'm hoping to be more proactive in that way. I do want to cut back a little bit in my travel agent job of it and be more prominently on the business side, the development side, and the agent support side of it. At this point, I feel that that's where my passion lies more. But at the same time, some of the relationships I built with my customers and some of the closeness that and friendships that formed because of that. It's very hard for me to give that up. So I my challenge right now is finding a balance that works with with my life and with where I am in life, and also in a financial way, in order to kind of transition more on the business development side of it, leave the duties of a travel agent off, or just pass it on to my agents, or just hold a very a smaller, a handful of clientele for whom I do that, and balance the two is what I think.
So you said that you have so many thoughts always and ideas. So we know where you see yourself in the future. What direction is Global Voyages going in?
Yeah, so good point. Well, Global Voyages was always one of the things that I did with Global Voyages, because of my background of how I came from, what type of agency I worked for before I opened it. I was always kind of regarded as the local travel agency for ethnic groups in the United States. And as much as I loved that, I wanted to grow out of that mindset, and I wanted to show Europe to Americans and show them the way that I see it and the way that I feel it, instead of booking them cookie cutter or vacation packages. So that was one of the things that I kept predominantly doing and striving for throughout the years. So growing the business, I want to focus more on a little bit of higher end clientele that really feel the need of consultants that can build a custom package for them, and not just to Europe, I would say, to other parts of the world too. I keep mentioning that I have different independent contractors and employees that specialize in their own regions and whole regions. I want to keep that manageable. So as far as we hit a team of 10, I think that's where I stop, because I don't want to overextend myself, and I want to still keep the standards and the attention that I can give each of them, and more than that I don't think I could handle. And truly what I want is to be able to have a company where our expertise is really our expertise. So if you're calling with a trip to Tahiti, then I can send you to somebody that has been to Tahiti and knows Tahiti as the back of their hands, for example. I want the personal experience to shine through all the itineraries and client interactions that we have.
It's a really unique approach.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome.
I think we're ready to go on our trip.
Yeah.
Well, I know who you should call.
And then I think it's the same question we ask everybody, and I think it's fascinating to hear the different advice. But if there was one piece of advice you could give to your 20-year-old self, especially in your case, I mean that was a huge age for you. What would it be?
To my 20-year-old self, gosh, that was fun. Could my 20-year-old self give something to my almost 40-year-old self? I would rather do that. I would say take things lightly.
I like that.
Take things lightly. I almost it took me, when I left the company, and yes, it just happened that I left at that point when, the whole financial crisis started here. But I've already had ideas and things not only in my head. I feel like if I would have been more outspoken about my wants and desires and needs, even with the company that I worked for, I could have maybe transitioned earlier into the path that I am on. I was also I also had fear holding me back a bit. For example, I was an employee at the company, salary-based or hourly paid, and they offered me the opportunity to be commission-based, and my sales supported that decision that I should be commission-based and I would be able to make more money. But I was scared to do that, because then I'm going back to the same point of, I have no idea how much I'm making every month. But looking back at months and years of working there was not one month where I would have made less than my existing salary, but I was still afraid to take that step and start my entrepreneurial career like that. Like when I left the company, I gave up everything and I fell right into this. But I could have taken this opportunity earlier. So maybe I would do that differently. I would tell myself, don't be afraid. Things are gonna work out. Take that, do that.
And I think just as a very bonus question, and then what would the 20-year-old Csilla say to the almost 40-year-old Csilla? Now that you brought that up.
Take things lightly, apparently. Yeah.
No, in a way, I have a 1-year-old, as I mentioned before, and an almost 5-year-old, and in ways I'm an older mom because even looking at my parents or looking at other parents where my kids are going to kindergarten with, those are in their 20s. So I never felt like I needed to have kids earlier because I felt like having my entire 20s allowing me to experiment with my career choices, with traveling, with making mistakes, owning up to it, that like I don't feel like that was wasted time or anything like that. So having kids later in life and getting married later in life and doing all that's traditional to be done a little bit younger, I'd say way to go on that. Now having kids and being a little bit older, my only worry now looking back is, gosh, will I be around when they get to this stages in their life? So that's my only fear. But that's what I would say. Good choice, waiting out all of this.
Yeah. Csilla, from the bottom of my heart and our heart, thank you very much for coming on. I think...
well, thank you for inviting me, guys. This was so much fun, and I just love what you guys are doing, and you all have this entrepreneurial spirit in yourselves, and the decisions that you're making and the choices, they're gonna land you everywhere where you want to be, and kudos for you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I love that, and it's it's meeting people like you and having conversations like these that sort of keep fueling that, and very, very grateful, very thankful.
It's very inspirational as well. Very interesting.
Incredible. Yes.
Yeah, there are a lot of
But I gotta say, this was my first podcast.
I mean, well done.
It wasn't as bad as I thought.
You wouldn't be able to tell us. You're natural.
No.
Yeah, you should start a podcast of your own. Man. You're great at this.
Yeah, that's the only other thing I need to fit into my schedule.
Edmond, we were talking about taking things lightly. Thank you very, very much. And
well, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
And we will love to see what you do, and keep an eye on Global Voyages, and
best of luck.
Yeah.
Best of luck.
Best of luck to you
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks as well. Bye bye.